Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. Tell us about your storytelling experience with Engage and in other places where you have now continued to tell your stories.
So first, I must confess, I had never heard of Engage before I was called. So I kept on asking Dawn these questions. I'm like, what is it that you guys do again? Are you TEDx? What are you TED Talks? What are you? What is this Engage thing? So I was sent a few links, which of course, as usual, I ignored. Yeah. I never watched any of them until I went to my first meeting. And I thought I had done so well with my script, so well. But you know, the most amazing experience about Engage is that I find myself going back more and more, watching more of the videos, more and more. It's become like a part of my life, you know. Once or twice a week, I must go and see what somebody has talked about. And this, it just gives me a sense of calmness, you know. And the difference it has made to my life is I do a lot of public speaking. And as I said, I thought I was the greatest public speaker until I did Engage. I don't worry about preparing. Unfortunately, in my profession, I have to use slides. So, you know, I prepare my presentation maybe 12, 10 hours, 6 hours before, but I just use pictures, you know, and I tell, stories. It has made me realize that the whole engagement has made me realize that there's nothing really special about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I have something to offer, but you know, if I walk out of here and I meet Mryna, or I meet you, or I meet Lucas, hey, let's have a cup of tea or something. You know, can I reach out and we talk? Because we met in an environment where we shared openly. We are all human. It doesn't matter what you do, but we all have something to learn from each other. Besides that, there's just the aspect of supporting one another. You know, it's interesting to hear, like, you know, as you're talking here, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I run a Women in Technology program where my only focus is soft skills, nothing technical. Because when I participated in Engage, I realized I'm fully technical. Fully technical. I am where I am because of my technical skills. What happens if I would go to a cocktail and stand at a corner and wait for people to come to me? What is the point of me being there? I'm not networking. I would be shy of public speaking. I did not have any kind of soft skills, or I would not even give back in terms of mentorship. And there are so many people looking at me.
Engage is a form of social therapy. Let me put it that way, because if you told my parents, go see a therapist, they'd be like, what? I'm not mad. And, you know, maybe probably another person in the next generation would say, where? How much does it cost, right? But Engage provides that platform where you can actually deconstruct your life story so that it can help other people.
To inspire people, to do it with humor, with a light touch, which helps them to, if I can use the term, engage, is such an enjoyable thing to do. And having these sorts of conversations with a moderator, what a wonderful way to spend a bit of time and to absorb from others and to stimulate one's own reflections. And that is the essence of Engage, isn't it?
You see, unless you are lying, your story is your story. Someone can say, you should have said a better story. It's just your story. There's no comparison or weighing it. Yeah. So that really is the future. Yeah. Yeah.
You have been bold and foolish to tell your stories on a very public platform. And you have received responses on the stories that you have told. Some are very personal.
Those who heard my talk know that the theme was having a good time doing good things, like dancing. And I think that my experience with Engage was a very joyous one. It was a very unusual one, of course, because I was the mzee among all these kijanas, like my friend over there. We've become great buddies, and we meet quite often from then. And it was a very unusual experience for me in the sense that because we prepared together and we critiqued each other as we rehearsed, I'd not been through such an experience for decades. Usually it's me rehearsing everyone else, not others also rehearsing me. And a lot of my age mates couldn't understand how I was prepared to put myself through that. But because it was such a wonderful collection of characters, it was a great experience, including building up to the big night together. And mingling it with the music was also very nice. Having a whole uplifting evening, seeing that full room of people of all kinds, such a diversity of people, well, to the extent we could see it despite the bright lights, but a feeling of it.
Being in a room with people who had their own powerful stories to tell actually made me realize that life is not about me alone. Life is about a community. And I think that's why, and I believe that's why there's the saying that children are brought up in a village, and this is just the way we are and should be. When we go through things that traumatize us, we tend to shut ourselves down. You build those walls and you don't want anybody to break through those walls because you believe you have an image that you need to maintain. But meanwhile, you're dying slowly in that shell. And it was so refreshing to walk into a room and have everybody look at you like, okay, you're one of us. There's no judging. Nobody knows your story. And as you start listening to other people's story is when you realize it's never that serious. And life is for the living. And for me, one of the things that I live by today is that it's never that serious. You just need to talk to somebody, share what you're going through, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And whatever you share is a lesson to somebody else. Whatever you share is going to encourage somebody else. Whether you know it or you don't know it, it's always encouraging to talk about your personal stories. And there's nothing as good as going personal because of that emotional human connection. Okay? And I felt like a big burden had been lifted off my chest when I shared my story, because it was 8 years since I'd gone through my trauma and I had never really spoken about it. So I was walking around with this heavy thing within me, and I was smiling and I was laughing, but I was not dancing from deep within my heart, which I needed to start doing. And since then, I think I'm like a butterfly all over the place, just enjoying life and smiling and, ready to talk. Yeah.
Engage was a bit of a paracetamol, brought down the fever of midlife to some degree, because I was 43 then, 45 now, and my midlife, I'm avoiding to say crisis because there's a word, midlife awakening, according to my half-time dad, Mike here. Told me not to use the word crisis, awakening, midlife awakening. So Engage helped bring down the temperature. The temperature was brought down because it provided an outlet to say what you're going through in a palatable manner that others can relate and absorb. Because before you'd try and say it, but it's in a language that only you understand, nobody else. So who am I now? Through Engage, and because of Engage to a great extent, I've managed to house this midlife transition, or to package it in a way that it makes more sense, if there's sense, but also in a way that others can relate and probably get some help from it. Yeah. It has helped in my storytelling because I started a blog. Well, this was a year before Engage, which is now 4 years, and called Lucas Maranga, a Man at 40, and just how that process is. So Engage has helped structure the thoughts in my mind. And as Mike mentioned, it began in the peer review sessions whereby you think a certain way and you have another voice in your head telling you, why not think this way? So that's who I am to some extent. I'm still finding out the rest of the guy.
Well, I told my story because I felt that the Indian growing up in Kenya, probably like an 80s baby, I don't hear other people telling the story. And I feel like when I meet other children from the community, people who are grown up, I feel like they are struggling with many things, because a lot of stuff about us as a minority community is just not well understood, and there's a stereotype that Indians in Kenya are a certain way. They live a certain kind of lifestyle. But we go through many things, like socioeconomic statuses have changed, and so we may not necessarily have what our parents or grandparents had in the years before the 80s. And so we don't necessarily have the same opportunities, and life is just more difficult, and I feel like I can see it in their faces. And when we sit down and have a conversation, I mean, the younger generation, people who are in their teens, in their 20s, and their 30s, and it's like they just want someone to say that I'm also going through this, and I'm finding it difficult as well. And I can't go back to India, I can't go back to Pakistan. I go there and I feel like I'm an alien. And this is home, and I feel like that story needs to be told, and told a lot more.
So this is the platform, and I don't know if you guys realize the power that you have in the lives of the people that you engage, from a speaker and audience perspective. Thank you. You're changing lives.
Thank you.
In a big way.
Thank you.
Yeah.